Steve, do we have that poll going yet? Sorry, I don't know if I'm looking at the right spot.
It should be open.
Polls. Found you.
Yes.
We just have to tell people to go to the poll section and.
Yeah, while people are waiting, we dropped a bit of a poll into. I just had to click it. The triangle and then polls. Just a couple questions there. Voting on just understanding a bit of who's in the audience, and so I'll help maybe frame some of our comments.
And when you're done with polls, I'll just take this moment too while you're in that section. The Q&A section is, again, for all of you participants on the call. If you have questions that come up, I'll try to moderate those as they come in and get those to Hannah and Kate. And when you see a question, there's a little thumbs up, well, I don't know if there's a thumbs down, but there's definitely a thumbs up if you want to vote it up. And we'll try to get to those questions as well.
So Steve, do you see the results of the poll then?
Yes, when we end the polls, it'll publish to everybody as well.
Perfect.
So just let me know when you want those cut off, and we will publish some results.
All right. Last call for the polls. Last call. Why don't you go ahead and publish, Steve? That'd be great.
Okay, Carrie, anytime you're ready, we can probably start.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our 2021 Virtual Campus Stores Conference this morning or afternoon, depending where you are. It's morning for me. I'm in beautiful southwestern Ontario. It's a lovely winter day and looking forward to spending some time with all of you. My name is Carrie Martin, if I haven't said that already, and I am the manager of general merchandise at Wilfrid Laurier University. And I also serve as a director on the board of Campus Stores Canada. This session is all about taking your social media from good to great. And we have Hannah White, who is the marketing manager from the University of Toronto, and Kate Dudley, marketing manager from Brock University. And they're here with us today to talk about what they do at their institutions and how their stores engage the campus community through social media. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from Kate and Hannah today. I am going to let them introduce themselves from here and take the presentation because I know they've got lots to pack in. So go ahead, ladies.
Thank you so much, Carrie. As Carrie mentioned, I'm the marketing manager for retail at the University of Toronto. I'm fairly new, actually. I started back in August, so I'm still dipping my foot in the water of the whole world of campus stores, but I'm very excited to be here with all of you. I'm actually a U of T alum, so I have a pretty good connection to the student body, which I think will come through in a lot of what we speak about. And that's about it from me. I'm excited to share some tips with you all.
And hi, everyone. I'm Kate. Been at Brock for, my journey's been about 10 years here in multiple different roles, starting in athletics and a donor relations kind of marketing capacity, and then actually moving to work with the campus store as part of their direct team as the coordinator of marketing and communications. And then I had the opportunity about 3 years ago, we centralized a lot of our marketing functions under our AVP of ancillary. So I had the opportunity to take on that manager of marketing role, and actually just as recent as July, also received the portfolio of the AVP of students, which oversees another number of units. So yeah, it's been a fun year with COVID, and I hope you guys, please we'll take questions along the way, folks, and we're just really excited to bring some topics to discussion, some food for thought as you plan moving forward. So I just wanted to pretty much start with, of course, addressing the landscape, a constant conversation that we're in as university retail. You know, March impacted all of us. Traditional customer service patterns were halted with various store closures, either full closures or partial closures. And what I've really learned is, that pivot online on a dime was, a more challenging task for some units than others. So what is this new world? This new world provides us new opportunities and chat with these challenges. I can say as a marketer, this change is exciting as we learn for new ways to connect and pull together content strategy objectives. It's time to get creative, hold strong to your purpose, and really dive into strategy and planning to get where we are and to get to our customers as we look ahead. Some key concepts to keep in mind as we built this presentation is the importance of consistency in service and in value, consistency in your outreach and communicating to your customers. And you really want to make sure that your customers know that your business is still here and you're ready to serve them, though that may look a bit different. Running through the agenda for today is we're going to break out into conversations about knowing your audience, staying social, staying visible, staying in the conversation. With that, we'll break down some of the social media tools. And then we're going to run through the social media checklist, content calendars, building followership, engagement, content creation, and then beyond the net for your department. What do partnerships look like? How do you get the most reach on campus? How do you get in front of all of your student audience? You can't do it alone. It's a joint effort on campus for sure. So what are some of your cross-promotional opportunities? Then we're just going to celebrate some wins, show some visuals, and then wrap up with big picture. What does this mean? Why does social media matter? And then lay out some potential next steps for you to take back to your teams as some food for thought as you move forward.
Thank you, Kate. So before we kind of dive into the nitty-gritty of everything, there's going to be some technical terms that come up during this. I'll overview a few of the important ones specifically pertaining to engagement right now before we dive in. But of course, if there's something that's unfamiliar to you, feel free to drop it in the questions and we will get to everything in time. But first, I just wanted to kind of go over reach, impressions, and engagements. So engagements are basically if someone interacts with the post of yours, whether they're liking on it, they're commenting, they're sharing it. Reach refers to the number of users that your content's being viewed by. And then impressions are the number of views that content has. So one person might count as just one for reach, but they might count as multiple impressions if they're seeing content repeatedly. So those are just a couple of things to keep in mind. So as I'm sure we all know, working on campuses of all shapes and sizes, the audience of students is pretty diverse. However, the core audience is typically the undergraduate audience for all of us. So we're going to talk about Gen Z a little bit, which is their demographic. So Gen Z is currently between 6 and 24 years old. Obviously, the 6-year-olds are not the audience that we are targeting, but it is worth noting that it is part of the demographic and we'll be serving them in due time, I'm sure. One thing to know about them is that their attention span is incredibly short. Granted, all of ours are being eroded over time by technology, but they do not know a world without the internet. Ever since they were little, they've grown up with just a dirge of information all the time, constantly being exposed to different pieces of information. So they've become very savvy at filtering through it, and their attention is very fleeting, and you only have a very small window to engage them before they filter you out. So a key thing to think about when you're creating messaging for these individuals is that your messaging really needs to be scannable and bite-sized. If they can't get the gist of it by just reading a small snapshot, they probably aren't going to get the gist of it at all because they might only get that small snapshot. So you really need to kind of condense it and identify key messages instead of kind of inundating them with too much filler info. They use social media for a lot of things. It's their main point of contact for a lot of their friends. They use it as a place to gather information, and they use it as a place to shop. So it's really a hub for all of them. I'm sure any of you who currently have teens can attest to the fact that they are constantly glued to their phones for everything, especially now that a lot of them are studying online. So it's a very key place to be able to reach them. They're very tech confident. They feel good purchasing stuff online. And another interesting thing to keep in mind with them is that they're very involved in social activism. This is a very socially conscious generation, partially because of the fact that they've been exposed to so much information. They've been able to form their own opinions from a young age. So it is important to kind of be aware of your content's potential alignment or contradiction with kind of their socially minded perspective. And they're lazy. and I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way. They're just used to things being very like smooth technologically. So they prefer to be able to get a direct link from content to a website in order to shop. They don't want to go through a complex sales process where they kind of have to ping around back and forth. So you really want to make things as smooth and as instant as you can to encourage sales with them. So the platform that we will be talking about the most today is Instagram, since it is far and away the most effective and popular platform among this demographic when it comes to shopping. Because of course we want our content to resonate, we want it to communicate our brand values, we want to stay in touch with our students, but I'm sure we all want to make a little bit of money, so we also want to be sales minded. And Instagram is an incredibly versatile platform. It's becoming more versatile every day. It's actually owned by Facebook, so they've got that Mark Zuckerberg money behind them, so they've really been able to expand into a lot of different areas. So the traditional way of Instagram was just feed posts. So originally it was just a single image, but now you can post a variety of things in the feed, which is basically the timeline you see when you log into Instagram. So you can post single images, you can post multiple images that you can scroll through, you can post video content, you can experiment with captions, and you can even tag your products in Instagram posts if you set up a catalog on the back end. That's a little bit more complex technologically, so we won't dive into it too much, but that is a really great feature. There's also story posts, which only exist on your profile for 24 hours. So those are a really great way to share time-sensitive information or anything you don't need sticking around for a long time. There are also a lot of very interactive components of stories. You can use Instagram stickers to create polls, get feedback, share short videos. So lots you can do there. Instagram TV, otherwise known as IGTV, allows you to post longer form video content. So if you're going to do a feed post of video, it has to be less than 1 minute long. But if you want to post longer content, you can do that on IGTV. And then there is another video option in case that wasn't enough, which is Instagram Reels. And that is specifically for short form video content. It's often set to music. It was Instagram's answer to TikTok, which is a very popular platform among Gen Z, which Kate will talk about a little bit in a minute. But it basically just lets you kind of do quick, fun content, again, typically set to music.
Into some other social media platforms that, as Hannah alluded to, between our conversations and what we're seeing in the industry with retail and Gen Z is Instagram is certainly, as Hannah mentioned, the focus of a lot of content strategy in retail. But we didn't want to forget some other friends. So we have Twitter here, less prominent within Gen Z. One of the challenges of using Twitter in a retail environment is that feeds are inundated with information. So information can get lost very quickly. And it's also a less visually appealing platform. So when we talk about content creation, it doesn't strike the chord as strongly and from an engagement perspective as Instagram does. You know, our opinion, and also from research and analytics, and I certainly ran some analytics on ours over the last 2 years, not terribly important unless you have time for it. It doesn't lend well, as I mentioned, to sales, and you want to be focusing really on more of those user content generated platforms like Instagram. And then, you know, often for our team, when we're building our content packages, Twitter imagery is a nice to have, but not a must have in our strategies. Moving over to Facebook, one of the pieces with Facebook is you can utilize it with your Instagram platform a bit because you can just share your Instagram content over to Facebook. As Hannah mentioned, and we're not really going to dive tons into, but getting those clothing catalogs and product tags that live on Facebook to have that direct link between your social and website is an opportunity. One strategy to consider if you are in the Facebook market is a paid social media ad strategy for your digital marketing. These generate great engagement and impressions. I took a look at our quick analytics from March 2020, and 86% of our engagement and 85% of our impressions from Facebook were directly linked to paid ads that we had sent out. So if you are in that arena, look at having a paid kind of ad strategy to roll out with your campaigns. That would be, you know, one of the more effective ways to utilize it. Now, TikTok. So rapidly becoming the social leader of our Gen Zs. If you're not on it, it's a video content platform that sucks hours out of your life as you continue to watch multiple things and search topics. It is challenging to use as a direct marketing tool without direct links to products. And one of the pieces from a video perspective that Hannah touched on with Instagram Reels, Instagram lends itself easier, and we'll touch on it in a minute about having direct links to products. If you're into videos, highly recommended sitting those on your Instagram platform through IGTV or Reels. And one of the pieces with TikTok is that it requires an extremely robust content calendar to maintain. And I always talk about creative energy in and output, putting all this time in. Do you see the sales? Do you see the analytics? So that's our pal TikTok. Now, we just wanted to touch on some of the members of the supporting cast. It's important to remember that social media is just a piece of the digital marketing funnel. So some other things just to really go over quickly is e-newsletters. There's great synergies between social media and email. There's design flexibility with links and websites. I do note here the opt-in management. So I'd be remiss from our legal team not to mention looking at anti-spam legislation at your respective institutions. I've actually talked to some partners across the province in the campus or industry how their institution deals with CASL. I do find it differs. Ours are under lock and key, our student emails. So we've had to get creative on how to get our email lists from our our email addresses from our students. But I can say as we've launched more of a robust email engagement strategy since the middle of November, we've seen some really great results. So something to consider as part of your mix for sure. And scheduling software and Instagram linking software. So scheduling software is something, so for us at Brock, we use Algora. And actually, Hannah, what do you use? I had this.
We use something called Later.
Perfect. Lots of tools out there. There's Hootsuite. There's a lot of scheduling softwares. One of the pieces with scheduling software is it helps you build consistency in your plan. It helps you measure and evaluate your strategy. And a social media conversation can sound like there's a lot of moving parts. So having a scheduling software helps you really focus in on your strategy and managing when that strategy is going to roll out. And from our perspective on my team really helps with time management and for us, at least, managing multiple units. And then what else do we have here? Instagram linking software. So for us, we use Linktree. This is free. And what we do is if you go onto our campus store profile, you'll see right in the bio, it'll say Linktree in there. When you click on that, it'll link to a number of products. So that's often from a strategic perspective. If we're posting about, let's say, a sweatshirt, we'll say link in bio, and then they can go in the Linktree bio, click on that, and that directly drives into the website page. That is a free tool, as I've already mentioned, and a really great ad in connecting what the ultimate goal, as Hannah alluded to, driving that awareness on social media to your website. And so that is a tool that we've been using from a conversion perspective.
Yeah, and it's very worth noting that a lot of these tools are free and they will save you a lot of effort. You can pay to have more fancy options, but even just to get the basic scheduling, it will save you time, and also getting the analytics to really tell you if your posts are giving you a return on the effort you're putting in is invaluable. There are even some available directly through these platforms like Instagram and Facebook have scheduling options. So bear that in mind. All right. So if you're looking to improve your social media strategy, we advise that you follow this social media checklist. So as we kind of alluded to with the scheduling software, having a content calendar is one of the most important things you can do to improve your social media strategy. I know since it's such like an ongoing thing, it can be tempting just to think, oh, okay, today let's post this. It's a relevant thing, but it's really important to think about it more strategically and at a higher level to ensure that you're not just going to have one post that performs well. You're going to have an ongoing social media presence that's serving your business well. So it's good to take a step back and kind of talk to the different people at your organization, especially the operations team, and think about things like, what items do you need to move? Do you have too much stock of something? What's happening around campus? Are there events that you should be talking about? And what's going on sale? That's always a valuable one. People love a sale. If you have a sale, I strongly recommend promoting it because people need to hear about it. In terms of getting organized, once you have those ideas, there are a lot of different ways that you can create your content calendar. I strongly recommend doing it electronically. I know it can be nice to lay things out visually, but I would recommend either doing like a Google Doc, a Google Sheet, an Excel document, anything where you can just jot down notes. Carrie, I know that you raised your hand.
I was just going to jump in here and ask if you'd like to take a couple questions right now. There have been a few questions coming in, and they've sort of been popping up. Before we get into other topics, I thought you might want to just touch on them. For Facebook paid ads, what is the average cost per promo? How long do you run the ads for, and who do you target, alum or current students? Maybe we'll start with that one.
Yeah, so just for us in the campaigns that we've run since March, a lot of times we partner it with our convocation pushes and campaigns. So from a target demographic perspective, we're looking at alumni community. We ran a significant ad buy over the holiday season as well, targeting families, maybe friends and people who want to buy gifts, particularly because the store, having that access to the store, it looks different this year. From a budget perspective, I mean, you can really knock your socks off and go as far as you'd like. I mean, I like to start with like a $200 budget and keep an eye on it. And, I would say, and you can certainly, I think Hannah has, they run more of a campaign, I believe, in one of our past conversations about students and kind of focusing in your demographic there. But you go ahead. And how do you guys run social media for ad buys? Pardon me.
Yeah, absolutely. So it very much depends. The great thing about doing ad buys on social media is you can really suit it to whatever you need to do. We've been experimenting a lot. It's something that I've been piloting since I started with the U of T bookstore. So we're still finding our footing. But in terms of budgeting, you're going to kind of like reap whatever you put into it. You don't have to put a ton of money into it. So really you can cater it to your budget. And in terms of targeting, it really just depends on what we're working on. If we're doing like a sale, it might be something that we're more targeting to students. But then if we're doing something with like a specific like alumni faculty, we can kind of drill down and target them as well. So it's really about making it work for your purposes. There's really no one size fits all solution for it.
All right, and one real quick one. If you guys, when you have a minute, could just pop your scheduling software and your linking software into the chat at some point. I know you mentioned it really quickly in the presentation. I didn't quite catch it either. I know Linktree is the one, but that can be done whenever. And I think you're going to hit the next one, Hannah, as you go through this slide. So I'm just going to let you continue. But they're just wondering about your preferred template for a content calendar. So I'm thinking you might touch on that here.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned, I prefer an electronic format just since you can easily like copy and paste stuff. And there's a lot of different ways you can approach planning your content. You can either do kind of like a broader plan for a whole quarter. You can do a monthly calendar. You can do a weekly calendar. We personally do a monthly calendar. I like to kind of just be able to see the month in advance. But of course, things always change. So it's very good to be able to cut and paste and move stuff around as other things come up. In terms of how I format ours, it's truly just a Google Doc. I have it set up as a table. I have the dates on one side. I have the content on another side. And it's just a great way to be able to see, okay, are we being kind of redundant? Are we pushing too many sales messages in 1 week? Which kind of brings me to the next point. You want to identify the key messaging that you need to push out in your calendar period, but then you want to balance it. So if you know that there are a lot of different sales messages you need to push in a given month, you're going to want to ensure that you're spreading those out so that they're balanced with more engagement or value-focused content. So you don't want to spam your customers. They'll appreciate a well-timed sales message, but if that's all they're getting, they kind of lose the engagement and value focused part of your content. So you need to make sure you're kind of sprinkling that in there as well. And then once you started doing that, it's very important to use like the built-in insights on Facebook, Instagram, all those platforms to monitor for things like reach and engagement and followership, as we mentioned before. And if you're seeing that numbers aren't trending in the right direction, you might know, okay, our strategy for this month didn't work well. You can make a note of how you performed with that plan. And then as you're building your next plan, you can see like maybe this didn't work, maybe this did work. So it's really good. Just keep an eye on your performance as you move forward with your calendar.
So building followership, obviously you can come up with the best calendar, but if nobody's listening, we're wasting your time. So we're just going to touch a bit on how to build followership. So we really want to focus on developing a sustainable base. So, that really looks at an audience that cares, a followership that consists of your customers. You really don't want to be luring followers in under false pretenses. A lot of influencers might tell you that the more followers are better. You can actually buy followers. Highly not recommended.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, it's not a thing, at least in our world. But it's far more important to build an audience that cares what you have to say. So and the biggest link there is because you want to be able to be tailoring your content to them. I mean, I do find working in a post-secondary institution, we do have, looking at our target, they are students of us. From a retail perspective, it's a bit different than if you're a major brand out there who, when I think about a Brock University sweatshirt, there is a target demographic who would like that. They don't necessarily want a Toronto sweatshirt. They want a Brock one. So we're really looking at those interest groups and how we identify that within our sustainable base.
So as an example of how we tried to build a sustainable followership, so this is a big milestone for us. Earlier in the fall, we were very close to getting above 10,000 followers. And I would just like to say, please do not beat yourself up if you have a smaller following. Bear in mind that U of T is a very big school. We're all kind of in a different playing field. So you're all doing wonderful. Don't you worry. But we were very close. We wanted to get above the 10,000 mark because it unlocks some features on Instagram, such as being able to include links in your story. So it was very tempting to just say, okay, how can we get all of these followers just like as quickly as possible? But of course, we want them to be sustainable. So we approached it with a giveaway that we knew would specifically appeal to our target demographic of U of T students. So what we did is we gave away U of T bookstore gift cards because the people who want U of T bookstore gift cards are the people we want following us. So it was a very simple Instagram giveaway. I know Kate's used them very successfully as well. But basically, you just get the students to follow you and then either like or comment on the post, and that enters them. You select them by random draw, and it's easy peasy. And it was a very successful initiative. We got well above our 10,000 mark. So if you're looking for something to incentivize followers that will kind of attract the right people, gift cards are a great idea.
Similarly, at the campus store, again, as I alluded to at the beginning in my introduction, I do oversee a number of units. So when, and we manage specifically their social media strategy as well. So when we do major giveaways, we often like to pair it with some of our larger audiences. Our largest account that we manage is the athletic account, the Brock Badgers. So when we bring them into the mix, it's always nice as well. So this is an example that we run. It's typically an annual giveaway that we do and I should note that we typically run these followerships, these contests prior to heading into major campaigns. So this would obviously be preceding going into the fall textbook push. So this one ran, we launched it August 10th, and then we ran it to September 18th. So it's just a great way to engage. As Hannah, I totally agree. It's a campus store gift card because you want to be shopping at the campus store because you're a Brock student. So that really helps touch on those notes of sustainable base. For us, a contest like this for the store specifically, it generated just over 1,500 new followers and some really great reach. So about just over 6,300 people saw it. And of that, 34% weren't actually hadn't seen the store before. So that's an example of a metric that you can see and you can evaluate as you're trying to get into these new bases as well. And the shares are really important because friends are sharing with friends and the language. So, we do have the captions here. So language is important. So you want them to follow, like, and share. So they're casting that net for you. So it's a student-to-student sharing piece. There's often, and for us, we actually have policies that we adhere to working with our central marketing communications office about social media contesting. So that's why you'll see in some of our examples, specifically, must be following all 3 accounts, only open to current Brock students. And there's also some additional language in there to work in. So I would just check on how contesting should work on your institution as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And even just in a broader sense, looking into contest law for social media is very helpful. There are lots of great articles about it. You just have to include some clauses in your caption, like saying this contest isn't endorsed by Instagram, et cetera, et cetera. So just make sure you're covering your bases because nobody likes a lawsuit. All right, so we've kind of alluded to this already, but engagement is very important. It's really the way to ensure that your followers are having fun. And it also ensures that they stick around. If they're engaging with your content, it means it's resonating in some capacity. So it means you're on the right track. And engagement-oriented content is a really great way to supplement sales content to ensure that your audience isn't getting bored or feeling alienated by too many sales messages. So there are a lot of different ways that you can encourage engagement. A few of the ones we're going to talk about are contests, which we just kind of mentioned. You can get people to tag their friends or classmates or whatever in posts and get them to follow you. Giveaways are always a winner, whether it's a gift card or something else from your store that you'd like to promote. Students love free stuff. I'm not a student and I love free stuff, so it's going to be a winner regardless. But it's also really great to use social media to get customer feedback, ask questions, engage with them, find out what they like, what they don't like. So there are a lot of different approaches you can take to social media engagement.
So for us leading into the holiday the holiday sales period, we did 12 days of giveaways. And I think one of the important things to note on this is the idea and genesis for this one was because we saw it on another retail account. So I would just say as a note that keep best practices in mind of what you're seeing in the industry. And if you think it's relatable and adjustable for your demographic and your social media content calendar. So this was just a fun way to engage prior to the holidays. We had a budget for free stuff to be mailed out from the store. And again, as I mentioned, it was strategically planned just before the holiday sales periods. Some results on this, well, actually, and this one we combined with not only following our account, but we were working on an opt-in email strategy as well to have students opt into our email newsletter just before we were launching. As I mentioned, in November, we had launched that strategy. So from a subscription perspective for emails, we had over just under 500 new subscribers. And this post had you had to comment on a friend. There was 3,268 comments. So that was really great. Again, our reach was just over 9,000, and of that, 52 weren't currently following the campus store. So that was just again another great example of just and I total props to. I have a full disclosure. I have a digital content social media coordinator. Her name is Maddie, and she's wonderful. So how our roles work is that I work on the strategy, and from an execution perspective, she's in the trenches executing these wonderful components. So that's her photo, that's her putting the effort into ensuring we're engaging. So she's not on the call, but I wanted to make sure I gave her a big shout out.
Quick question
Carrie, I know
for
you have
you.
your hand up again. Yeah.
Yeah, quick question for you from the audience. What sort of ways do you use to verify students and if they qualify for a giveaway?
So when we select our winners by random draw, there are some services you can pay for online that will pick a comment if you're doing it that way, or you can just get an Excel sheet of the people who have commented and pull it that way. But once we've picked those winners, we will email them and ask them to provide a U of T email address and also answer a skill testing question, because you have to do that for contest law. So those are two great steps you can use. Just verify their email and then get them to answer that question.
Thank you.
Maddie also checks their profile.
Yeah, that's also a good step. Yeah. See what they're all about.
Yeah, just give it a little deep dive.
Yeah. So one engagement-oriented giveaway that we did this past holiday season was our Winter Unwind giveaway. So we knew that a lot of students weren't able to go home for the holidays. It's also just like quite literally a dark time. It's not a happy time of year. There's not sunlight. A lot of people are just like stuck indoors, obviously, with the pandemic. So we wanted to do something to kind of like lift their spirits a little bit. So this was kind of a twofold initiative. We put together kind of like a cozy and fun prize pack. So it had like pajamas, socks, tea or coffee, a game, things that they could enjoy safely over the break period. And how they entered was, of course, following us. But then we asked them to comment on the post telling us how they would be safely spending the holiday period, what ideas they had for others. And it was really great. We got a ton of engagement. We had around 1,500 people enter with lots of great suggestions like, oh, I'm trying this new recipe. I'm going to read this book. I'm going skating, like all of these things. So it was kind of just like a warm, fuzzy giveaway. And I think a lot of students were kind of reading other students' suggestions. So it was just kind of a feel good, but it also drove a ton of engagement. All right. So in terms of content creation, there are a lot of considerations. We can't go into all of them in immense depth, but we will touch on them to the best of our abilities. So we'll be talking about branding, image and video quality, hashtags, and captions. So in terms of branding, some of you might already know this about the U of T bookstore, others might not, but we are actually not directly part of U of T. We are a separate not-for-profit organization. So we actually have to do our branding separately, but in tandem with U of T proper. So we have to think about, okay, how are we aligning with U of T, but also how are we kind of depicting our unique voice? We strive to be a little bit more like light and fun than U of T, since it's such like a big institution. So we try to still kind of align ourselves with U of T's values, but have like a little fun with it. We take a lot of our photos around campus. Obviously, you can see that this is one of our store employees repping some of our merch, just seated on campus. So there are lots of great photo opportunities around you. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. You can literally just ask someone who works for you if they sign a media release to rep something from the store, take a photo somewhere around campus. You don't need to use a fancy camera. Most smartphones have great cameras now, so no worries if you don't have fancy equipment. My advice to you is that natural light is almost always better than artificial light unless you have a very fancy one. So just take a little walk with someone from your team, socially distanced, of course, and you can find some great opportunities. But on the caption and hashtag note, you can see we're having like a little fun with it. Sweater weather is a thing that's often talked about on social media, so we kind of tried to tap into that. We use some U of T branded hashtags to get exposure with the U of T community, but then we also throw in some kind of more general fun ones like hashtag sweater weather, hashtag hoodie season. So those kind of more whimsical things kind of add a touch of light to it, and also will allow people to see your content if they are looking at those hashtags. And here is another example of something that we did just to kind of like have a little fun with things. This was a skeleton that we had in our medical department. We were doing a promotion for kind of study guides. We have a wonderful photographer who thought that this was a fun thing to do, and I absolutely agree. So it's just kind of bringing a little bit of fun with it. Yes, this post is to sell the study guides, but it's also like a good picture as a standalone. So you kind of want to think of, okay, how can I push our messaging? How can I sell, but while still providing a touch of like levity or value in some other way? And I believe this is a video, Kate, so I will play that for you. There was music to that, but I don't know if it works. Yeah. I'm sorry, Kate.
It's okay. No worries. Everyone can follow the Brock Campus store and look at the reel. It's right on the feed. So that's an example of an Instagram reel, which is one of the components of Instagram that Hannah touched on earlier. This is a really great platform to celebrate videos. This is an example of us identifying a student who has a large social media following on campus. So we really try to identify, and Maddie happens to know her. So we brought herself and her colleague in, and they're both also part of our student union as well, which helps from a social influence perspective. And they came in and they just had some fun in the store. We ran these campaigns during our holiday rush with our sales periods. This video specifically got over 7,300 views. And you know what we saw from an analytics perspective was that product got over 4,700 views on the website, and 362 units were sold. So in the end of the day, you know, really looking at, this is an example of I always say, I'm not cool. The students are cool. And I know we have some challenges in accessing students right now. But you know, keeping in mind as you're building your content strategy to utilize these wonderful students around you who are very creative with social media, and can really help. And you know, sometimes we hand them a free T-shirt, or you know, just like thanks so much for your time. We do a lot of our photo shoots and photos with students, and we'll continue to strive to do that. And then the next two that I'm going to show are just really aligning posts with pop culture. I should note that our hashtags we use and how we work with our marketing team is that for us, we start with, we have a brand website that we use as our compass. I agree with Hannah. We try to find that unique voice. I have some flexibility around what the brand is to make it a little more fun and relatable. And I have a really great, it's my most valuable partnership on campus to be working with the central marketing team to ensure that what we're doing has the flexibility, but still within brand standards. Because one of the big things that I'll touch on later from a partnership perspective is that we want access for us at Brock to the university main account. That has 30,000 students on there for us. And in order for me to, as I always say to the units that I oversee, in order for us to sell your stuff to them and to get on their content calendar when we pitch it to them, it needs to be branded and within a realm of comfort for them. So that's a very important partnership for us. But these are just really, this slide and the next slide, pop culture. So the last one, it was a Raptors. Serge Ibaka was doing this scarf thing during when the Raps were hot. So we grabbed Boomer, and Boomer's our mascot, and we put a scarf on him, had a little fun with the caption. We use a Shop Brock caption, and so we don't use as many quite as U of T, but we follow. And I should mention, we just with the hashtag. Sorry, that's a searchability piece. I don't know, we define that. You can go on and search on social media, and that's why you would use hashtags to tag your product. So for us, it's Shop Brock and Brock U. The next one really was back in December. Maddie was like, please show this. She loved it. This was a pop culture one. It was a huge trending piece at the time. It was about a banana being taped to a wall, selling for $120,000. And anyways, the piece was called The Hungry Artist. Somebody eventually ate the banana. So then what she did was take a Boomer and tape it to a wall. And this was just another really great example of just bringing some of those pop culture pieces into your content calendar. And then the next one, well, we thought we'd give stationery a bit of love. So one thing that we do, and certainly it's come more prevalent as in COVID times, is, as Hannah mentioned, having a cell phone with a smartphone camera, a simple flat lay, colorful highlighters, provides a really crisp and clean look. It provides that overall really great look and feel when you look at your feed and you're scrolling through. This is just really eye-catching. And as Maddie always says, she wants to keep that feed looking pretty. So this is one of those examples of just being able to grab some products and doing a quick product shot with it.
All right. So as far as partnerships go, I know Kate already spoke about it a little bit. So as I mentioned, we are separate from U of T, but we work with them a lot, and it's an incredibly valuable partnership. We work a lot with central communications just to make sure we're in alignment, and we can also collaborate with them on a lot of initiatives that I will touch on shortly. But we also work with Student Life a lot, which is kind of like a subset of central communications, especially on health and wellness initiatives. This has obviously been a difficult year, especially for students, especially for first-year students. So we're really just trying to find ways that we can partner around campus to collectively improve the student experience. And that's what's at the core of partnerships. We all ultimately want to serve the students and improve their experiences. And I find that a lot of people are very receptive to collaboration in that vein. And then Kate, did you want to speak about your partnerships?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And to add on that, right, when we look at our partnerships, the strategy there is about cementing the value of the campus store with partners across campus and how you can support, and really helpful for reach. So as I mentioned, utilizing our partnership with the Central University account is something that we hold with high regard. We meet with them weekly with their social media coordinator. We do a content pitch. We look to get on their calendar. We look to see what events are happening. So that's a really strong partnership for us. And then naturally, the accounts that we oversee just from our office are examples like residence, athletics, as I mentioned, recreation, the Student Wellness Center, Student Life and Success. So often when we're running strategies out of the campus store, we're able just with our phones and the accounts that we oversee, if the content makes sense to be putting onto other accounts, we'll do those natural cross promotions. But then, partnerships with recruitment teams, orientation events, having coupons celebrated even on their websites, because I know a lot of people are in a virtual recruitment campaign right now. We have events with our alumni and faculty and staff, a couple coming down the pipe actually in February into March. And, sports, we have as part of the sports content strategy, we have Fan Fridays. So then we look to incorporate campus store giveaways. And we also look to feature, we're a Nike school through our athletics program right now. We also carry Nike in the store. So we look to celebrate athletes in photos and photo shoots, repping the product that we have at the store with the Badgers on it. I alluded to student unions. So student unions are a really great piece for us. Just having that partnership, having their influence on social media. They're often the more popular kids on campus. So it's a really great group to have in combination and in the mix. And then as Hannah mentioned, I mean, a really important year for student wellness. We actually did, we oversee their account and manage their strategy as well. But even just as a mail out, we did a mail out, partnered with our campus store ops team, and beginning in January did a mail out of all the services that our Student Wellness and Accessibility Center manages. So just using, a big thing through COVID is the campus store is mailing. So we have these orders are mailing. So how can you leverage that in a conversation with partners across campus? And so then that'll encourage their strategies to also encourage sales and students coming to the store. Because then when they get, when they purchase at the store, then they get something in that box that's reflective of whether it's that faculty or in partnership with alumni, they may be looking to throw something in like a thank you or whatever in that box that's being mailed out. So that's an opportunity as well. And the last thing is gift card partnerships. I literally ask everybody across campus who's doing any type of contest if we can, what kind of partnership? Campus store gift card? Every time, every time.
I respect it.
Yeah.
So here's an example of a partnership that we did at U of T, again, over the holidays. This was in partnership with U of T Central Communications. So it was a branded contest, #U of T holiday. So the U of T Central team, in collaboration with us, created a checklist of things to do, again, over the holiday period. This was separate from the giveaway I mentioned earlier, but it was almost like a bingo where there were things they could do, like go for a walk, try a recipe, like drink a hot chocolate, like just like little things like that. We supplied the prize pack for it, but then we did a lot of cross promotion with them where on their account, and the U of T Central account is huge, they were able to then share this and say this contest is sponsored by the U of T bookstore. It allows us to get some of our products in front of our students. It got us more followers, but it was also, again, just like a really fun thing for students to do. So when you're able to kind of get that benefit for your brand and the benefit of students in one place and one partnership, that is just a win-win. So definitely look out for opportunities like that. And then this one isn't exclusively a social media partnership, but I think it's worth touching on anyways. Earlier this year, we partnered with U of T operations to serve as a mask distribution hub for them. U of T was giving all students and staff, I believe, 2 free masks that were being distributed around campus. But of course, a lot of people didn't know campus was open. They didn't know where they could go to get their masks. So we partnered with them to say, hey, people know that they can come to the bookstore. This is back when they could still come to the bookstore. How can we help you? Can we be a hub for you? So we were able to distribute masks at our St. George location. We were able to promote that through social media. They were then able to list us on their website and promote the fact that we're a distribution hub. So again, it's just a great way. It was a great way to get foot traffic into the store, but it was also a great way for us to help out students who were on campus for the first time, didn't know where to go. A lot of the central buildings were closed. So it was really a win-win.
Likewise, I mean, I echo those exact comments, Hannah. The role that the campus store played in the distribution of not only procuring masks, but also distributing. This is our student council, our student union president. So this is a branded shot that we took with him with the mask on that we featured on the campus store page that also was celebrated across multiple channels. So just again, another example of a branded photo, having that social media influencer and reinforcing the part of the narrative that the store is so foundationally part of as an institutional landscape. Next one, so this is just a partnership. Here's an example of one that we run annually as well. So we partnered with the Brock Pride Club on campus. One thing here is you'll note in the caption that we did do a percentage of proceeds to a charity that was selected not by the store. We worked in partnership with Human Rights and Equity, and they select that partnership, and so then we're able to celebrate that. And we do that with a couple different groups across campus as well. And then just wrapping, I know we're getting tight on time, celebrating some wins, so we'll just roll through it quickly. So this one's actually rolling right now. We have a graphic designer on our team. She put this together, but just an example of how the campus store can be part of a larger narrative. It's Bell Let's Talk. Tomorrow, we're running a number of initiatives across multiple units across campus, but this is how the store is being involved. So it's a great opportunity for partnership and a great PR opportunity for the store and getting some great buzz. we can go to the next one. This one's really fun. Actually just launched this 2 weeks ago. We've been trying to get something like this off the ground for a while. Sabrina, our buyer, who I believe is on this call. So hello, Sabrina. She's wonderful. We did it a love it or leave it. So this is just 2 of the examples. We ran a campaign for a day. That's just a quick, so the love it or leave it is just a quick sticker that you can slap on a picture. Sabrina, from a process perspective, she got the artwork. We put it on social, we put the sticker on. And from an engagement perspective, the product's got an average of like 3,400 views. And on this, so for these 2, I can tell you the Navy sweater, 3,560 customers saw it. We hit 808 leave it, 944, love it, 944 leave it. And on the crop top, over 1,000 people, 1,068 loved it, and 578 said leave it. So really great to just have some insight and some fun with your audiences, and then also just that leaving that opportunity for what they'd like to see. Great for some market research as well as you're going into buying season.
Yeah, we actually have something very similar on our Instagram today. If you guys want to check us out, we're putting products up against each other one-to-one. So we'll see what happens there. I hate to put our products against each other, but it's also valuable to know what people are liking. Yeah, so again, I'll be super quick with our wins, just kind of tying back to that engagement and ensuring that you're sharing value on your social accounts in addition to sales content. Here are 2 engagement-driven things that we've done in the past 6 months. We relaunched our bookstore book club. We used to have a book club with like trade book recommendations. I think they were weekly back in the day, but we scaled it back, relaunched it. We're now doing a monthly pick, and we had people formally sign up for it. We have 250 official members and counting, which is awesome. So we email them our recommendations, but we also do share them on social media, and people have been really liking it. Another thing we did that was fun was something we called our Jellycat Cutie Tournament. So at the U of T bookstore, we carry a selection of Jellycat products, which are these kind of cutesy little plush toys that you can see here. And there are so many different kinds of them that we decided, okay, let's put them in a tournament. Let's see which one is ultimately the cutest. And it was just kind of like some fun, small thing that we were like, maybe a couple of people will participate in this. But people loved it. We had hundreds of people weighing in on what their favorite Jellycat was. We basically posted stories where we would say like, all right, do you like the croissant or the orange? And then people would vote. And we did like a round robin where they moved through it. And people loved it. We got a ton of great feedback. So you can do little stuff like that and have fun with the students and reap really good results.
I did just see that question on the chat about the love it or leave it. Clarification there. It's not product that's currently in the store. It's us grabbing information for potential buys to make moving forward. Just a point of clarification. Okay, so big picture, why does this all matter? Social media is a tool to reach your audience in new ways and drive sales. A content strategy that includes sales, community, empathy can reinforce the value and the purpose of your store and your institutional landscape. And also really important to remember, like the whole landscape of digital marketing. Social media is just one factor of that in the pursuit of sales. And we've touched on things really briefly, emails, ad buys, different levers that you can pull to ultimately drive those customers to your website. Hannah, any additional on that?
Yeah, I was just going to say it's especially important right now because we have such limited interaction with our students, with so many of them being kept at home because of the pandemic. But that's not going to change even after the pandemic. It's going to fundamentally change the way that we engage with students. And it's incredibly important to come to them on their home turf, which is online. So if you're not thinking about social media, you're missing a huge opportunity to communicate with your students. So it's worth it. It matters.
Absolutely. Okay, so next steps after we've just spoken for nearly an hour. What are some takeaways? So social media audit. Think about what do you currently have in place? Do you have the right tools for your audience and what do you need to get there? And from a content calendar, I know we had some dialogue about that. You know, starting with key dates, big events, sales and promotions, and then working in some of the day-to-day. If you're thinking about frequency and asking yourself what that looks like, some of the best practices suggest on a platform like Instagram, 3 times a week on a feed, a minimum, because you want to stay in that conversation, but not spam, as Hannah mentioned earlier. And then more frequently on stories as you gain momentum. One thing to note is when you're putting together the content calendar, planning for photos and product shots does take time. So I know Hannah alluded to thinking ahead and knowing that if you're working on a day-to-day, what's going to happen today on social, usually an energy drain, and can be very frustrating as you try to pull pieces together. So that, and I would also just say, as you get kind of into your content shots, you'll get more confidence as you go. So it's good. And then creative energy and in results. So executing a social media strategy takes time and energy. So you really want to make sure you're lining up some basic measurement tools and making sure that you're hitting the right notes. And I can just honestly say, you're not always going to get it, but you're going to learn and adjust as you go. And what's important is that you're engaging with your audience. As Hannah mentioned, social media is the tool, and certainly not going away, to be connecting to the new customer experience in this pandemic, post-pandemic, new norm life kind of reality. So that was it. I think we're good.
Yeah, and just be kind to yourselves. Social media is constantly changing. We're all learning as we go. So just take chances. Obviously, don't post anything like incendiary, but try a new type of product shot. See what happens. We're all learning as we go along.
Literally changes every day.
Yeah, truly it does. Yeah, so don't worry if you're not always at the speed. I know I'm not.
Thank you so much, Hannah and Kate. There were a few more questions that came in at the end, but here I'm going to put in a plug for Steve. Join the groups. There are groups in our Google platform, and there is a new group called Marcom that I saw pop up in chat. So take a look at that and continue your conversations there. The questions we didn't get to, just so you kind of know, relate around specific tools and so on. So I think those are great conversations for the forum. So I encourage you to head that way. But we do have one very important question that I want you to hit yet. Who won the Jellycat Cutie contest?
I think it was the orange. I honestly can't remember because I was deeply invested in the stuffed pig that didn't win. So I'm a little bitter about that. But if I'm correct, it was the orange. Sorry, the Clementine. I shouldn't mince words.
Oh, my darling Clementine. Okay.
Yeah, indeed.
So
it was the orange and Clementine that were in the finals.
Oh,
both of them.
It was two types of citrus. Yeah, people love the citrus plush. Thank you, Lotta.
And Lotta, I saw your comment. Lotta, I saw that you said I was cool. Thank you so much.
You know what? I think that I just wanted to say thank you both for doing it. And Hannah, I know that you want to plug your team because Hannah doesn't do this all by herself.
Yeah, I absolutely don't. I have a fantastic marketing coordinator and a graphic designer / photographer who create our fantastic content. Similarly to Kate, I just come up with a strategy and they're the ones in the trenches making killer content. So big shout out to them, Azure Fam and Keisha Villacorta. We're not on the call, but
and Hannah has
either mine. Hello.
And Hannah has been with us less than 6 months. Just to let you know.
Good job, Hannah.
Thank you.
All right, so I am going to conclude this session just because I know the timing here is very short until the next session, so I hope you'll join us. Thank you again, Hannah and Kate, for sharing. I hope everyone on the call has come away with a few ideas and ways to, integrate them in your stores. And I just want to mention that on behalf of the speakers and all the speakers at the conference, CSC will be making a $500 donation to a charity chosen by the CSC Board of Directors. And again, it will have something to do with education and books, I'm guessing. But thank you so much, Hannah and Kate. And please join us in about half an hour for our next session. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.